Welcome to Screen Scan. In today's episode, we'll delve into 2022 movie titled The Tinder Swindler. Be prepared for spoilers as we explore its narrative. Stay alert and enjoy the journey. Let's begin our exploration. A man from Israel, originally named Shimon Hayat, journeyed across Europe, masquerading as the offspring of Lev Leviev, a prominent Russian-Israeli diamond tycoon. Under the guise of Simon Leviev on the dating platform Tinder, he engaged with women, deceiving them into loaning him funds that he never returned. He fabricated a Google profile, showcasing lavish lifestyles with private jets, luxurious automobiles, and extravagant parties globally. Cecile Fjelhoy, hailing from Norway, encountered Simon on Tinder. She reflects on the pursuit of authentic love by women, undeterred by previous heartaches, her romantic ideals shaped by Disney narratives. Dreaming of grandeur beyond her small-town origins, Cecile has been active on Tinder for 7 years, accumulating 1024 matches. She articulates a common desire among women for a partner who combines attractiveness, ambition, a love for animals, and wealth. Simon's Tinder profile included a link to his Instagram, which boasted numerous photos and a large following, indicating his affection for animals. Their first meeting took place at the Four Seasons Hotel for coffee, where Simon, with his striking appearance, quickly portrayed himself as a diamond industry prince and CEO of LLD Diamonds. He invited her to join him on a business trip to Bulgaria aboard his private jet, where they were met by his team at the airport. Accompanying them was Simon's 2-year-old daughter and his ex, who praised Simon as a remarkable father who continued to support her despite their separation. Cecile and Simon became intimate that night in Bulgaria. Subsequently, Simon sent Cecile back to London due to work commitments, yet a deep connection was already budding between them. They communicated via WhatsApp, exchanging texts and Simon spoiling her with lavish gifts. Their relationship was further cemented during a visit to Oslo, where they decided to become an official couple. Simon confided in Cecile about the perilous nature of the diamond trade and his numerous adversaries. He proposed that Cecile move in with him, setting a budget of $15,000 per month for this new phase of their lives together. Pernilla Sjöholm, from Sweden, sought a partner who was humorous, intelligent, and spontaneous. She, too, stumbled upon Simon on Tinder. He claimed to reside in Amsterdam and was visiting Stockholm on business. Simon extended an invitation to Pernilla to visit Amsterdam and arranged her travel. He resided in a prestigious area. During their lunch, it was evident that Simon was well known by the restaurant staff, and the supply of caviar was unending. At one point, Simon advanced romantically towards Pernilla, but she felt uneasy about it and decided to return home. Nonetheless, she found herself missing Simon. Remarkably, he would occasionally fly out just to share a coffee with her. Pernilla believed that there was a unique bond between them. Simon enticed women with extravagant presents and escorted them to dinners aboard private jets, funding these gestures with funds acquired from women he had previously deceived. Subsequently, he would fabricate stories of being pursued by his enemies, often sharing identical messages and photos with each woman to convince them he had narrowly escaped a knife attack, thanks to the intervention of his bodyguard, who was supposedly injured in the process. Claiming these attacks compromised his security and temporarily restricted access to his credit cards and bank accounts, Simon solicited financial assistance from his victims. In response, the women would frequently secure bank loans or obtain new credit cards to support him. The funds acquired from this deceit were then utilized to attract further victims, effectively running a Ponzi scheme by rotating the misuse of trust and financial support among a network of deceived individuals. At this stage, Cecile was completely captivated by Simon, having fallen for his deception entirely. She obtained a credit card in her name, which Simon then used exclusively, quickly reaching its spending limit. Following this, Simon requested Cecile to visit Amsterdam and bring $25,000 with her. In order to fulfill his request, Cecile secured loans to gather the necessary funds and traveled to meet Simon in Amsterdam. Upon her arrival, his security personnel orchestrated a scenario of urgency, implying that Simon was at risk. They insisted that his adversaries had pinpointed his location and that he needed to urgently depart by plane to undisclosed location. Subsequently, Simon arrived in Stockholm, the very place where he had encountered Pernilla. Simon escorts Pernilla to a party, opting to pay in cash. Feeling uneasy, Pernilla departs early, and by the next day, Simon is found to be in Barcelona. Meanwhile, Cecile's credit card is blocked by American Express, prompting Simon to request her to communicate with American Express to both unblock the card and request an increase in its limit. To justify this, Simon fictitiously employs Cecile at LLD Diamonds, providing her with fake payslips that suggest a monthly income of $94,000. Consequently, American Express agrees to enhance the credit limits. Subsequently, Simon resorts to simulating repayments to his victims by forwarding counterfeit documents that purportedly demonstrate bank transfers, only to then sever all communication with them. He convinces Cecile of his sincerity by showing her fabricated evidence of transferring $250,000 into her accounts to cover all incurred expenses. Simon reaches out to Pernilla to inform her that he has started a new relationship with Paulina, a Russian model he met in Mykonos, Greece, and extends an invitation for her to join them, booking a suite that costs $5,000 per night. To cover these expenses, Simon convinces Cecile to foot the bill, claiming the costs were for business-related meetings, dinners, and travel, leading to an expenditure of $20,000 in just 3 days. The trio, including Pernilla, Paulina, and Simon, visits a prestigious club in Mykonos, where reserving a table costs $2,000. To sustain Simon's lavish spending, Cecile is compelled to secure additional loans amounting to $40,000. Consequently, her debts include $50,000 from Instabank, $12,500 from DNB, a new $10,000 credit card, $20,000 from Monobank, and $15,000 from Nordea. Subsequently, Simon takes Pernilla and Paulina to Rome for a visit to the Colosseum, while the funds Simon had purportedly arranged to transfer to Cecile's account fail to materialize. By this time, Cecile's total borrowed amount escalates to $250,000. Simon then summons Cecile to Amsterdam, where he presents her with a check for $500,000. However, upon her return to London, the check is returned unpaid. Simon's demeanor towards Cecile turns cold and distant, claiming he has already settled his debt to her, leaving her to contend with 9 creditors. In a desperate move, Cecile contacts American Express, which sends 2 investigators to her. After hearing her story, they identify Simon as a known scam artist. It is revealed that Simon, whose real name is Shimon Hayat, had previously defrauded 3 Finnish women in 2015, resulting in a 3-year prison sentence. Cecile takes the step to block Simon from her life, as American Express discloses his true identity and criminal background. Simon now turns his attention to Pernilla, claiming that his father has been arrested and all his financial resources have been frozen. She receives the same fabricated images of assaults on him and his bodyguard that Simon had previously sent to Cecile in an effort to solicit sympathy and financial aid. He requests a loan of $30,000 from her. In response to the unfolding situation, Cecile reaches out to a Norwegian newspaper, VG, and connects with editor Natalie and journalist Christopher, to whom she presents all her gathered evidence. The newspaper conducts an investigation, uncovering the identities of 3 Finnish women previously victimized by Simon. Cecile recognizes one of these women as Simon's ex-girlfriend, whom she had met on the plane. VG collaborates with an Israeli journalist to locate Shimon's residential address in Israel. Upon their visit, Shimon's mother expels them from the property. It is confirmed by local law enforcement that Shimon Hayat legally changed his name to Simon Leviev in 2017. They also uncover his past involvement in check fraud within Israel in 2011, after which he absconded from the country to avoid a court summons. Simon persuades Pernilla to take out an additional loan of $10,000, and in an attempt to reassure her, he presents a fabricated bank transfer receipt showing a $100,000 deposit. He also convinces her to arrange numerous flights for him, one after another, though the promised funds never materialize. During their investigation, the journalists from the newspaper discover flight bookings made in Pernilla's name on Cecile's credit card statements, exposing Simon's deceit. Upon learning the truth about Simon's fraudulent activities, Pernilla shares the journalist's message with him. Journalist Arnold meets with Pernilla in Stockholm and comes to understand that Simon is orchestrating a Ponzi scheme. Pernilla discloses Simon's location in Munich, prompting Natalie and Christopher to travel there and collaborate with Pernilla in an attempt to confront Simon. However, Simon flees upon realizing that he is being pursued. The following morning, Pernilla confronts Simon over the phone, armed with the evidence Natalie had provided her. In response, Simon issues threats against Pernilla. Despite this, VG decides to proceed with publishing the story. The exposé on the Tinder swindler quickly gains traction and goes viral, prompting additional victims from various parts of the world to come forward with their own experiences of deception. Elaine, Simon's current girlfriend, comes across the article detailing Cecile's ordeal and realizes the depth of her own entanglement with Simon. At this point, she had been in a relationship with him for 14 months, during which they had been intimate. Residing in Amsterdam, Her timeline overlapped with Simon's relationship with Cecile. By then, Elaine had already provided Simon with $140,000, designer clothing, tickets, and lavish meals. Despite Simon's denial of the accusations in the article, Elaine reaches out to Pernilla. Determined to reclaim her financial losses, Elaine, leveraging her connections in the fashion industry and aware of the high value of Simon's wardrobe, pretends to stand by Simon. She suggests liquidating his designer attire to aid their financial situation. Simon, perhaps convinced by her show of support, asks her to meet him in Prague. Before her departure, Elaine receives yet another credit card from Simon, this time under the name David Sharon, prompting her to alert the Dutch authorities about his latest attempt at identity change. In Prague, Simon seeks to undergo plastic surgery, a request that is declined by the surgeon due to its common association with criminal activities. Elaine seizes this opportunity to leave with 3 suitcases filled with Simon's clothes. Meanwhile, Simon expresses a desire to marry Elaine, unaware of her intentions. Elaine proceeds to sell the clothing on eBay. After some time, Simon catches on to Elaine's plan to retain the proceeds from the sale for herself. This realization leads him to send her multiple aggressive voice messages demanding the return of his money, marking a turbulent phase in their relationship as Elaine navigates her path to recovery and retribution. With no income, Simon finds himself in dire straits, resorting to staying in hostels at $12 per night and scavenging for leftover food in a mall. Elaine, upon discovering that Simon plans to travel to Greece, passes on this information along with his new alias, David Sharon, to the authorities. Simon is apprehended upon his arrival in Greece. In Israel, he receives a 15-month prison sentence for unrelated crimes but is released after serving just 5 months. Notably, he faces no legal repercussions for the fraud committed against the women he deceived. Simon now resides in Israel, enjoying his freedom. Meanwhile, Cecile, Pernilla, and Elaine continue to shoulder the financial burdens incurred from their involvement with him. Simon's deceptive actions are believed to have defrauded individuals worldwide of a total exceeding $10 million, underscoring the extensive impact of his cons.